When my husband first hired her, I didn't think much of it. Secretaries came and went in his office, and I had grown used to smiling politely at them during the occasional dinner party before they disappeared into the cycle of turnover. They were just ... faces, pleasant but forgettable. But then she walked in, Elena, tall, striking, and with the kind of confidence that made the entire room fall quiet when she entered. She wasn't just beautiful, she was magnetic. Her smile was slow, deliberate, like she knew it would linger in your mind long after she looked away. I wanted to hate her. Of course, I did. Every friend whispered the same warning. Your husband hired a woman like asterisk. That asterisk. Careful. They meant it as a threat, a caution about my marriage. But I told myself I had nothing to worry about. My husband was loyal. My marriage was stable. But the truth was, it wasn't my husband. I was worried about it. It was me. The first time I met Elena properly was at his company's annual gala. She wore a crimson dress that clung to her like it had been sewn onto her skin, and the way she carried herself made even the chandeliers seem dim in comparison. I tried not to stare, but it was impossible. I caught myself watching her from across the table, unable to look away as she leaned over to whisper something to my husband. My stomach twisted not from jealousy, but from something far more dangerous, something I didn't have a name for. Later that night, as my husband busied himself with clients, schmoozing and shaking hands, I found myself standing alone on the balcony, a glass of half-finished champagne in my hand. The cool night air was a relief from the stuffy ballroom. Suddenly, Elena appeared beside me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You don't like these events either, huh?" she said, her voice soft but laced with a hint of mischief. I tried to give a polite, distant response, something that would put a wall between us. But her laugh broke through my defenses, warm and genuine. She leaned in just a little, close enough that I caught the faintest trace of her perfume jasmine and something darker, something I couldn't place. It was intoxicating. And in that moment, under the dim light of the moon, I felt a pull I couldn't explain. From that night on, she was everywhere. Or maybe it was just that I started looking for her. Whenever I visited the office, her smile was the first thing I saw. When she called to remind me of some appointment on my husband's behalf, her voice lingered in my ear far too long after I hung up. It became a kind of addiction. I started finding excuses to stop by his work. Just dropping off coffee, I'd say. I brought him lunch. He forgot it. But the truth was, I was only hoping for those fleeting moments when Elena Saiz would meet mine across the desk, a spark dancing there that both thrilled and terrified me. It was a secret dialogue only the two of us were having. One evening, after a late meeting, my husband called and asked me to pick him up. He was still inside finishing up when I arrived, but Elena was in the lobby, gathering her things. The building was quiet, almost empty. "You always wait for him," she said, tilting her head. "It wasn't a question. You must love him a lot." The word struck me with the force of a physical blow. Did I? Or was my heart betraying me each time it skipped a beat around her? "I do," I answered, but even to my own ears, my voice lacked conviction. She smiled knowingly, as if she had read every unspoken thought in my mind. Then she stepped closer, closing the small distance between us, and lowered her voice. "But sometimes love doesn't follow rules." I froze. My breath caught in my throat. The air between us grew heavy, charged with an energy that was almost visible. For a split second, I thought she might kiss me right there in the empty lobby. My chest tightened with anticipation and a deep, gut-wrenching fear. But she didn't. Instead, she simply brushed her fingers against mine as she handed me my husband's forgotten briefcase. Her touch was deliberate, a feather-light caress that sent a shiver all the way up my spine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed that moment over and over, the look in her eyes, the softness of her skin against mine, the way I had leaned in without even realizing it. The memory was branded into my mind. Weeks passed. My husband remained blissfully oblivious, but Elena and I continued our silent dance. We revolved around the tension, our conversations laced with unspoken meanings, our glances holding entire volumes. Every "how are you" felt like "I can't stop thinking about you." Until one afternoon, my car broke down on a side street near the office. It was pouring rain, and I was stranded. I made one call to her. Elena offered to drive me home without a moment's hesitation. The ride was quiet at first, just the rhythmic sound of the windshield wipers and the rain drumming on the roof. But the silence was unbearable, thick with everything we hadn't said. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to her, and my voice was barely a whisper. "Why do you do this to me?" She glanced at me, her hand steady on the steering wheel, her lips curving into that small, knowing smile. "Because I can't stop thinking about you either." The confession hung in the air between us like thunder. It was out. It was real. I didn't respond. I couldn't. When she pulled into my driveway, the rain had softened to a drizzle. But I didn't get out of the car. I just sat there, my world tilting on its axis. Instead, I turned to her, my heart pounding against my ribs. And before I could stop myself, before reason could intervene, I kissed her. It was reckless. It was forbidden. It was everything I shouldn't be doing. But it was also the most honest thing I'd done in years. Her lips were soft, urgent, filled with the kind of hunger I'd only ever dreamed of feeling. For that one perfect moment, the world disappeared. No husband, no expectations, no lies, just her and me, finally colliding after months of orbiting each other. When we pulled apart, breathless, reality came crashing back down. The house behind us, the life I had built, the man I was married to. I whispered, "This can't happen." And yet, deep down, I knew it already had. Because from the moment I first saw her, my husband's beautiful, magnetic secretary, there was no going back. My carefully constructed world had just been shattered, and I was the one holding the hammer. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.